Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Bava Kamma daf Memchet Amud Aleph, 48a1. We are trying to bring a proof, right, to answer up the Braita. Tashema. Okay, so we are 4 lines down. Tashema, the last word on the line. Tashema. Hichnis shoro lachatzer balabayit shelo birshut. If you come and you bring in your shor to the chatzer of the balabayit without permission, and then another shor comes and is going to damage, ungacho, and he gores him, it's going to be patur. Remember, what was the question? Never lose focus of the question, because if you lost focus of the question, you don't understand what we're trying to answer. So the question was, when you accept upon yourself shmirah, does that mean you accept upon yourself the shmirah of your own personal things around you? Or even if the nezek is external, something comes from the outside, do you also accept upon yourself that to be shomer or not? So now we're trying to bring a proof. The proof was, it says over there, somebody comes and they bring in their shore to the property of the balabait. So if it was done shelo birshut, okay, and then another ox comes and gores it, it's going to be patur. And if it was reshut, it's going to be chayav. Says the Gemara, man patur man chayav. Who's patur and who's chayav? What does it mean patur and chayav? Who's that going by? Right? Patur, right? Allah, are we not talking about that the patur means bala chatzer and chayav means bala chatzer? Which means if the shore, right, is going to be the one that was damaged, if he goes in shelo birshut, so the bala chatzer is patur from paying him, and if it was with the reshut, so now he's chayav to pay him. Why? He accepted upon himself. So we could bring a proof from this braita that since we are saying that patur and chayav refers to the bala chatzer, it comes out that when you accept upon yourself the shmirah, it's even if it comes from external. It's even if it comes from the outside. And so it's going to, no, that's not the pshat. Patur is, and the chayav is going to the bala shor. Okay? Patur is bala shor. That means he's not going to be chayav to pay if the shor was nizak, right, comes in to the chatzer b'li reshut, right? And the chayav is on the bala shor and ogeach, right? Which means it all depends on what was, meaning like this. It was somebody else's shor, right? Yeah, let's say it's Mordechai shor, right? So Mordechai shor comes into my property and gores a shor. Now Mordechai was all afraid. He thought it was my shor, so he was going to be chayav. All of a sudden we find out that it wasn't my shor. It was John Doe's shor. Yeah, John Doe's shore. So since it's going to be John Doe's shore, so now it all depends. It all depends whether the shore was given permission to come in or not. If the shore was not given permission to come in, so Mordechai is patur. If it was given permission to come in, Mordechai is going to be chayav. Capish? So ask the Gemara, if so, right? If we're talking about the bala shor and ogeach, my birshut, my shelo birshutika. What's the difference then if the shor nizak came in, right? Birshut or shelo birshut. The Braita is talking about that the shor was mazik benigicha, and on keren you're chayav l'shalem even in reshut rabim. Meaning, I don't care which reshut is in. Mordechai shor gores, yeah. So if Mordechai shor gores, I don't care where it gores. Even in reshut rabim is going to be chayav. Even a Reshut Nizak is going to be chayav. And so why is it that if the other guy's animal came in Reshut, so Mordechai is chayav. If he didn't come in Reshut, Mordechai is patur. I don't understand. It's keren. Keren is chayav anywhere. So how does that make sense? So Amri, so they said, Hamani, who is this braita then? Rabbi Tarfon, it's Rabbi Tarfon. The Amar that he says Mishune keren, that keren is going to be a difference bechatzer nizak, shenezek shalem meshalem, right? B'reshut avyala. Keren bechatzer hanizak meshalem nezek shalem. V'shelo b'reshut havelakir meshut rabim v'lo meshalem lechatzi nezek. Comes Rabbi Tarfon and he gives you an incredible chidush. We already learned this in the past. According to Rabbi Tarfon, there's going to be a difference in keren. When do we say keren pays chetzi nezek? When it's a tam and the reshut rabim. But if it's in reshut hanizak, keren meshalem nezek shalem. Even if it's tam. Even if it's a tam, right? Even if it's a tam. Muad always pays nezek shalem. But even if it's a tam, always pays nezek shalem. So according to this braita has a bitafon. That's why it all makes a difference whether it's birshut or shelo birshut. Because if it's going to be birshut, so now that's it. Nezek shalem has to pay. There's a big difference. Okay? Until you're clear. Very good. Next case.
The commission Give the definition of that.
There was a woman that she comes into a house to start baking. Ata barha de mare de beita. Comes a taish. The taish is the male goat. Okay? The male goat comes to the balabait. Ve'achla lelisha. And he eats the isa. He eats the dough. Chavil, he started becoming very hot because of the food, right? The hevel. Umit, and he dies. So he messed with the wrong guy, right? Or the wrong woman. Yeah? So what happens? So you have to pay for it. Sorry, you have to pay. Why? What are you doing? It was shelo b'reshut. You came into my property. My goat, right, comes and eats your thing. He died because of it. Come on, you have to pay for it. Fine. So says the Gemara, Rav. Why don't we just say that this argues on Rav? That means Rava, because this was Rava, right? That he says Rava l'shalom. So he says Rava argues on Rav. Damar Rav, because Rav said, if you remember, we kept on saying that according to Rav, they shouldn't have eaten anything. And therefore, the nezek is only going to be if it slipped, right? But if Bemet it ate, eating, you shouldn't have eaten. Why are you eating? And anytime that it eats, you're going to be patur. So Rava argues on Rav. That's what we want to say. So Amri says the Gemara, can you compare both cases? He says Hatam over there in the case of Rav, Shelo Birshut, he put them in Shelo Birshut. So Lo Kabeleni Tiruta, he didn't watch over it. Hacha here though, Birshut, she brought it in with Rishut. So Kabeleni Tiruta. So therefore we're going to say he accepted upon himself, right? The acceptance of being watching over it. You can compare both cases. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. According to this, what's the difference in another case? We brought the exact same case. This case was baking bread. What was the case of the litchon chitin? Right? She came in to grind the wheat by the balabait without permission. And the animal of the balabait comes and eats it. So she said, the animal, the balabait is going to be patur. But now if the animal was damaged, right, the woman is going to be chayevet. Ta'ama, the reasoning why it's shelo b'reshut. Ha-b'reshut, but if it was going to be b'reshut, patur l'shalem nezikim. So now 1 second, why is it that when this woman comes in to bake, Rava says that she accepts upon himself to watch over, right, the heirs of the balabait, and in this case of the woman doing litchon, she doesn't accept upon herself anything to watch over the be'emah of the balabait. What's the difference? Why is it in the case of the baking, kilu, she came in b'reshut, so now she has to make sure that she's not going to damage the balabait's animal. But in the case of the grinding, she doesn't have to make sure about that. What's the difference? Well, what's the difference in the grinding and the baking? So it sounds like the exact same case.
The animal can have access to the grinding easily, but if it's
baking the same thing. It was both in the same thing, the same place. Let's say they both happened in the kitchen. So Amri, the Gemara answers, right? Well, they're both with Reshut. They're both with Reshut. So he comes and he says, Litchon chitim, kevan de lo bayit sniut amide. When you do tochen, you don't need sniut. You could do it in front of other people. So lo bay misalke meravta de chatzer navshayu. So the baalei chatzer, he doesn't have to remove, right, himself from the chatzer when she's there. Meaning, if she's doing chitim, the baalei chatzer could still be around. And therefore, so therefore he has to watch over his own animal. You understand what happened? Meaning that when she's grinding, there's no sniut issues. So since there's no sniut issues, he could be all around. So therefore he's obligated to watch over his animal. But baking, kevan debayit sniuta, she needs sniut. Why? Because many times she reveals her arms. She rolls up her sleeves and she comes and starts doing all the dough and everything. And then when she does that, it's a lack of tzniut. So the balabait can't be there. So since he can't be there, so when she's coming and she's doing it, she has to accept upon herself that she's watching over the animals of the balabait. Because the balabait is not there. So therefore, who's watching over the animals? So obviously if you're there, so she has to watch over it. And that's going to be the difference, right, between them. Okay, hilka chala dida, Rami Nitura. So if it's upon her, look at the mamash, the madrigat, the chokhmah of what we're talking about here. Okay? Fine, 2 dots. Hichnis shoro lechatzer balabait. So we said right now that what happens if you bring in the shor to the chatzer of the balabait? Okay? the Marshal here in the footnote, by the way, he says, right, that nowadays, Bavonotenu Rabim in Poland and Ashkenaz, women reveal their arms even without the time of afiyah, even without the time of baking. And the men don't suspect for that. And therefore, to do with money, we're not going to say that Minastam, the Bala Chatzer is going to go away from there. And Mimela, we cannot say that the woman accepts upon herself, right, the thing, because of, the Balabait is going to say that he went away because it's newt. We're going to, no, sorry. If the Balabait says that I went away because it's newt, we're going to believe him, right? But he says that if he's, that the Balabait doesn't really care, so then we're not going to believe him. Meaning nowadays it changes halacha just because of the tzniut of what's going on. You understand? Which is an incredible concept, right? Fine. It says over here like this. Okay? If a person comes and brings a shor to the chatzer balabait without the permission. Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, what happens right now if you bring your shor into the chatzer balabait without a permission? And he starts coming and digging up. Bala shor is going to be chayav benizkei chatzer. He has to pay for everything that happens in the chatzer. Ubala chatzer chayav benizkei bor. But now the bala shor is bala chatzer is going to be chayav on anything that happens with the bor. Now, sorry, thank you. Ve'afal gav. Now, even though damar more ki ichre ish bor velo shor bor. Now it says in the pasuk mefurash that the human being has to dig the bor, not the shor. Hacha here kevin diitle lehech lemiluyim. Since the Bala Chatzer could fill it up and close it off, Velo Kamali, and he didn't do it, Keman de Karyadami, so it's like he dug it, which means like this. One more time. You come and your shore comes into my property without permission, and he starts digging, right? Digging, and he makes a bore. So what happens? You're obligated to pay for the bore. But now, what happens if I don't cover it up? I take the money and I don't fix it. Sometimes it happens. They come, they damage your car, you take the money, but you don't fix the car. Right? You say, oh, big deal, just continue. Yeah, okay. So what happens right now in such a case? Yeah. So what happens is in such a case, right? He comes and he says, I'm going to be chayav. He says, why? The Torah says that kichre ish bor. When the man digs a pit, not the shore. Here, it wasn't me, it was the shore. He said, no. But since I already know about it, and I could have filled it up, and I could have covered it up, and I didn't do it. So it's like I dug it. So now that I dug it, so I'm going to be chayav if something happens now into the pit. Okay? Another halacha. Ve'amar Rava says, if somebody comes and brings in his shor to chatzer balabait without permission, the izik the balabait. Now the shor damages the balabait, or the balabait was izikbo, or right, and he damaged chayav. So now the balashor is going to pay everything. But ravatz, if the shor comes and falls down on the floor, he's going to be patur. Let's try to understand. Says the Gemara, umishum de ravatz patur. I don't understand. Why, if he's Ravatz like he plumps down, why is he going to be patur now? Right? So he comes and he says, no. Amar Rav Papa says, what is the Ravatz here? Ravatz here is she'idbitz klalim v'nitanfu kelav shel balabait. He did his necessities. He did number 2. And what happened was that it got dirty, all the kelim of the balabait, to have a galalim bor, because the galalim, the galal, the excrement is called bor. Right, and we never found a bor shechiyev bo ta kelim that is going to be chayav on kelim. We already know that if kelim fall into a bor, you're patur on the kelim. So therefore, since the glalim are considered a bor and it goes on the kelim, right? So therefore, it should be patur. That's why it's going to be patur. So says the Gemara, hani Shmuel. That's good according to Shmuel that he says that any takala is considered a bor. But according to Rav, that he says that you have to be mafkir in order for it to be considered a bor. But if not, it's not considered a bor. Michael, man, what are you going to say then? So says the Gemara, Amri, we said stan glalim afkure mafkilu. The majority of people immediately, once the animal does excrement, it's afker. You don't see people coming running around saying, that's my excrement. Right? It's a pam. שירוצו אחרי הבהמה ויגידו שהגלל, שהרי של הבהמה זה שלי?
בכלבים.
No, that's different. The opposite. The opposite. If it was for the people, they would make it afker and they would just leave it there. Because the city gives you a fine for littering, so that's why they have to come and they pick it up. And many times, when nobody's watching, they don't pick it up. And they leave it there.
More than in France. In France?
Well, it's all over the place.
Even people going with gloves.
No, because here they're very strict about it. They'll give you punishment. They'll give you
Because
punishment.
here, any family, they have a few dogs, no?
No, they're serious. Last time I saw a woman,
Small dogs
the
for
dog did
kids.
this thing. She walked away. She said, "You see it?" She didn't. She went to pick up the plastic bag and come back.
Okay, right. Yeah.
In France, it's not that.
100%. No, but here it's a very big fight. It's a very big fight. Yeah? Yeah, it's liberated. It's a big fight. So he says now, right? He says Amar Rava. So that's why since some people come and they make it hefker, so therefore that's why he's considered like a bore. The Amar Rava comes and he says another halacha. Nichnas lechatze balabait shelo b'shut. He comes in without permission. V'yizik balabait or balabait uzak bo chayav. He's going to be chayav. V'yiziko balabait. He's going to be patur. Amar of Papa says, Lo Amran, what are we dealing with? Ela dulov yadabe, which means the balabait didn't know, right, that he's in the chatzer. Aval hav yadabe, if he knows that the guy's in the chatzer, he's zik balabait, he's going to be chayav. My tama, what's the reason? Mishum damale was yikatal nehiti lecharashut lepuke. Says yesh lecharashut, right, to get me out of your field. La zuke lecharashuta, but you have no permission to damage me. Look at this. I come into your property, right? What do? You unleash the dogs. Yeah, you have the rights to get me out of your property, but you don't have rights to damage me. You could come out and tell me get out. You could do whatever you want. You cannot damage me. And if you damage me, you're going to be chayav. And that's what he says. That's what he says. The Arzul Tamayu, and it goes according to the reasoning. Damar Rava v'itemer of Papa, but says Rava and some people say Papa. Memchet mubet, right? Ushnehem birshut.
But that's b'mezid, not b'shut.
Yeah, obviously. We're talking about b'mezid. Yeah. B'shogegi didn't know the guy was there. What do you want me to do? Yeah. He says shnehem birshut. We're talking about that they both have reshut to do that. Like for example, they're both going to the reshut Rabbi. Shnehem shlo birshut. Hizikut zed zed. They're going to be chayavim. Husku zed zed. They're going to be pturim. Tama. Why? Because both of them are reshut. Both of them without reshut. But if one of them is with the reshut and one of them without reshut, the one that is with the reshut is always patur, and the one that without reshut is always going to be chayav. So that's halacha basically. Meaning that when do we say that they're both if they both have the permission to be there? But if they both don't have the permission to be there, so then it's a different halacha. Okay, fine. 2 dots. Okay, nafal lebor. Imagine right now the shor comes and he brings his shor into the bala chatzer, right into the chatzer of the balabait, and it was without permission, and he fell into a bore. Okay, and now he damaged the waters. Vivish memav. So he said he's going to be chayav l'shalem. So imagine I've got a nice pit. That's the pit that I use for my, for the water and for this. And all of a sudden, somebody's shores come in, he falls in and he destroys all the water. It stinks up the water. Now nobody's going to drink the water. He's going to be chayav. Amar Rava says, Lo Shana, what are we dealing with? Ela sheivish b'shat nefilah. If when the time that he fell inside of it, that's when he made it disgusting. But it was only afterwards it's going to be patur from paying. My time I was reasoning. Havishor bor umayim kelim. Because basically what happens is that if it was the shore at the time that he fell in, it's a shore. But after he's already inside and now it's going to start coming and making it disgusting, he's considered a bor. The water is considered like kelim. And therefore we just said that if a bor damages kelim, right, you're going to be patur. Velo matzinu bor shechayav, right, the kelim. So says the Gemara, the same question that we asked before, to do with whether you're mafkid or not mafkid. Says the Gemara, Hani Chalishmuel. This is good according to Shmuel, that he says that any takala in the Reshut Rabim is considered a bor, even if you didn't make it hefker. But according to Rav, that he says that only if you made it hefker. Michael, what are you going to say now? Here, you didn't make the animal hefker. So answers the Gemara, Elayit Marachim. You're right. We have to change it a little bit. Amar Rava says, Lo Shana, what are we dealing with? Sheishor Ivish Migufo. It was from its own body. But if it was Ivish Merecho, from the stink, the stench, because of the nevela, he's going to be patur. My time out, what's reasoning? It's a grama. Right, grama balma. Grama balma mechayiv. You're never chayav on grama. Meaning this is considered like how do you say grama in English? It's secondary, indirect. It's an indirect, right? It's an indirect. Meaning the stench was something indirect. If it's the body in itself, that's direct. But if it's indirect. Fine, 2 dots. Imagine the father or the son of this guy is inside the pit, right? The shore comes in without permission, falls inside the shore, kills the human being. He has to pay kofar. Says the Gemara, why? Hatamhu. It's a tam. When do you pay kofar? Only when it's a muad. A tam doesn't pay kofar. What's going on? Rav says, no, he's a muad lipol ben adam beborot askina. He likes doing that. He sees pits and he jumps inside of people inside pits. That's what he likes doing. So it says the Gemara, so then you have to kill him. If he's a muad to do this, so then it's not anymore an honest. We thought it was force majeure. He came inside, fell in, it was accident, and then he killed her. So okay, he has to pay kofar. But one say if it's a tam, so if it's a tam, he doesn't pay kofar. No, he was a muad. So if he's a muad, then you have to kill him. But this is what he always does then. So answers the Gemara, Rav Yosef says, the Chaza Yeruka, he saw Esev inside the boar. V'nafal, so he fell into the boar without kavanah. And therefore, since he fell into the boar without kavanah, you can't kill him. Because you remember, we already said that he's chayav l'shalem kofed, right? Because he's a muadli pol, right, on people. But he's not going to be killed because he didn't have kavanah to kill in this case. Okay? Until you were clear. One more time. To be killed, an animal has to have kavanah. He has to say l'shem yichu k'shav richu, and then he has to gore. Okay? That's to kill the animal. But to do the kofed, it's only a muad. Here he is a muad. He's muad to kill by jumping on top of people inside the boars. Here he didn't see the guys. Here he just saw the greenery. He went in and he fell in. And that's it. Okay? Shmuel Amar. Shmuel says, how many who is this? Rabbi Yosef Elmaleh. Rabbi Yosef Elmaleh. The Amar he says, right? Rabbi Yosef Elmaleh says, Tam meshalem chetzi kofed. He says, no, a Tam also pays kofed. But he pays chetzi kofed. So according to him, he does pay kofed. He just pays chetzi. But he has to pay kofed. Ula Amar Ula Kam, then he says a third explanation. Who's our Mishnah? Rabbi Yosef Elmaleh. The Amar Rabbi Tafkon B'Tovon that he owes like Rabbi Tafkon. The Amar that he says, Kerem b'chatzer nizak nizak shalem shalem. He pays full damages. Meaning like this. According to Shtat Rabbi Tarfon, not only do you pay nezek shalem in Bereshut Nizak, you pay kofer shalem by Bereshut Nizak. Okay, you're going to pay for both. Okay. Now he comes and he says like this. He says you're going to pay both of them. So bishama leula. So it's good according to Ula, right? Hainu diktani. That's what it means. Hayavivo benon letocho. That it's going to be inside of it. What does it mean inside of it? Right? That you're going to have right inside. Right? He says that it's inside of the pit. Okay. But he comes now and he says like this. He says, however, though, the Shmuel, according to Shmuel, my idia avivo beno, afilu acher nami. What does it mean now, avivo beno? Even other people as well. So answers the Gemara, orchel de minta nakat. He says, we're talking about orchel de minta, which means this is the norm, right? And this, since this is the normal, the derech haolam, so that's what we're talking about now, that the krovim of the balabait, right, is which is inside of the board. So therefore, it's a different halacha now. Okay, fine. Next two dots. Vimichnis, right, birshut. If right now you went into it with permission, so bala chatzer is going to be chayav. So in a case of bala chatzer is going to be chayav. So he comes and he says like this. Itmar, it was stated. Rav says the halacha is like Tanakama, and Shmuel says the halacha is going to be like Rabbi. Okay, because basically when we have a machloket Rav and Shmuel, right, we always go like Shmuel and Dinei Mamonot. Okay, that's what we usually do. Okay, so Shmuel says the halacha is like Rabbi. Okay, so but Rabbi said Kulam, you're not going to be chayav until you actually accept upon yourself the damages, right? Like meaning like to watch over it. So Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, Kenoshulcha v'shomro. Imagine right now somebody comes and he says, bring your shore into my property, right? And watch over it. Hizik is going to be chayav. Huzak is going to be patur. Kenoshulcha v'ani yeshmenenu. But if he comes and he says, bring it in and I'm going to watch over it, Hizik is going to be chayav. Huzak is going to be chayav and Hizik is going to be patur. So the Gemara is going to say, one second, there's a stira. Hagufa kashya, this is a question in itself. You told me, Kenoshulcha v'shomro, right? Bring in the shore and watch over it. Hizik is going to be chayav. Huzak is going to be patur. Ta'ama, the reasoning is Damar because he told him Shomro, you have to watch it. Techayav balashor, patur balachatzer. Hastama, the balachatzer is going to be chayav, right? And patur balashor. To be stama, he is mekabel eleni tiruta. But the seifa is the exact opposite. Kenoshur chavani shmerenu, right? Bring in your shore and I'm going to watch over it. Then it's going to be uzak chayav v'hizik patur. Why? Because he said ani shmerenu, right? That's why he's going to be chayav in the patur balashor. Exactly. So he says hastama. Chayav balashor upatur balachatzer. Tabistam lo mekabel intirute. So he says atan Rabbi. So this goes according to Rabbi. Damar ad shekabel intirute balabait lishmor. So Reisha Rabbanan, the Sefer Rabbi. The Reisha is Rabbanan, the Sefer is Rabbi. What's going on there? Amani Bilazar says Rabbi Bilazar, yes. Tavra, you have to break it. Whoever taught the Reisha didn't teach the Sefer because one more time, if you're going, you have a stira. What is the regular? Because in the first case he said you watch over it. The second case says I watch over it. So from each one, you make a diuk that if he said you have to watch over it, mashma stama, that if I didn't say you have to watch over it, I'm watching over it. And in the sefer where it says I'm watching over it, mashma stama, that I don't watch over it. So it's a stira, meaning that each one is a stira. So you say, you're right, you can't learn both. That's one answer. The answer will be Rabbi Elazar. Rava comes and he says, Kula Rabbanani. Really, by the entire thing is Rabbanan. I did not see Reisha Shomro. So since the Reisha comes and it says that you have to watch over it, Tana Seifa, that means really Bemet, the entire thing is Rabbanan. But since he already said in the Reisha, you have to watch over it, so he said in the Seifa, even without that, he's already going to be Shomenet. That's the second answer. Okay? Right? One more time. According to Rabbanan, not according to Rabbi, according to Rabbanan, you always accept upon yourself Shmirah, the fact that you come and you say, bring it into my property. You accept upon yourself Shmirah. Third answer, the Papa Amar, Kula Rabbi. No, the entire thing is Rabbi. Right? That he says, therefore he comes and he tells them, Elmaleh, Shomro, therefore he comes and he tells them, you're going to have to watch it. So lo maknele, right? Makom b'chatzer. So therefore he's not being makne to him a place in the chatzer. So havle kerem b'chatzer and izak. So it's considered kerem b'chatzer and izak. The kerem b'chatzer and izak meshalem nezek shalem is going to have to pay nezek shalem. So lo amar le shomro. If he didn't say shomro, aknu yaknu le. So then he does put him a place in the chatzer, and therefore it's considered kerem b'chatzer shutafin. Ve'eno meshalem ela chetzi nezek. So then he's only going to pay chetzi nezek. Which means this. Remember, according to Rabbi Tarfon, b'rshut rabim you pay chetzi nezek. B'rshut izak you pay nezek shalem. If he comes and he gives them permission to be there, now they become shutafin. If they become shutafin, he pays chetzi nezek. If he doesn't give him permission to be there, so therefore it's not going to be a shutafin, and therefore he's going to have to pay nezek shalem.